Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I'm here today with our experimental bins. You see we started this October 25th, so we are at the 5-month mark and I think it's time to retire these bins, but I wanted to peek in on them one last time. So this is the whole scrap bin, and still have some of those sprouts in here, but I definitely think our worm numbers probably doubled, and they still are getting along really well in here. This is not completely composted. Obviously there's still a lot of bedding in here, but I'm starting some new experiments, which is actually similar to what we did here, but on a larger scale, and I'm going to be doing it alongside of some friends across the country and even in Canada, and we're kind of explore the differences and similarities in feeding, chopped food versus blended food in our bins. So I think that'll be really exciting. So I'm going to use these bins to start those. So these will be our starter worms, and I'll start with the compost from here so that those microbes will get working quickly. So again, this is our blended scrap. You might have noticed there was still a little bit of a shell from our bell peppers, but our blended scrap bin, let me reposition this camera, one moment. So our blended scrap bin has done really well also. We had a lot more of our bell peppers sprout in here than in the whole scrap bin, which I found fascinating. And again, there's still some unprocessed bedding in here, but we did run these bins really slowly and kind of systematically. But I think my takeaway from this whole experience thus far is that the food definitely gets processed faster when it's blended. In the grand scheme of things, does that mean they eat more? I'm not really sure, but I do think that if you're looking to get compost quicker, blending the food definitely lends itself to doing that because they're able to get into it more quickly. A lot of times we had to wait a few weeks for our whole scrap bin to catch up. So that was interesting to me. And I think going forward, I'll keep that in mind, because as my worm population between all my bins keeps growing, the whole scraps actually are probably a positive for me, because it does take longer to break down, so I could probably feed less frequently so that I can alternate which bins I'm feeding. So it kind of depends on what your goals are, whether or not whole scraps versus blended scraps really matters. But I definitely found this to be a really interesting experiment. I learned a lot, and as I said, look for some updates on larger scale whole scraps versus, pureed scraps, and we will see what happens with that. So I'll make a video later this week adding these bins to the larger 10-gallon totes and getting started on the new experiment. But drop your comments below. Tell me what you think about this experiment 5 months later. Did you learn anything? Are you surprised by anything? And I will be back with you guys for an update pretty soon. Have a great day.